Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're back on Tuesday for your Tailosive Tech live stream pleasure. Hope it's going well. Got the windows open so you can see what's behind me this time. It's cold. It's a cold morning here in Northern California, so I've got a sweatshirt that's keeping me warm. Excited to see what kind of questions we got. Pretty interesting response to yesterday's video. I feel like a lot of people missing the point, which is classic. I actually like that. It's more interesting to see people be interested and disagreeing in what I say, because then I have to think of ways I can still make my argument, because I don't think I'm wrong, but I have to rephrase my argument and get people interested. But yeah, it was interesting. I liked reading them. I liked responding. Yes, Barney, super chats are on iOS now. Good evening, good morning. Back, Deathmaker, John Harvey, Robert, Rohit, Apple Eye Tutorials. How's it going? How is everyone doing this fine morning? Good morning, good morning. What are your opinion on jailbreaks? Oh, never gotten that comment before. Anyway, a lot of people were thinking after yesterday's video that, well, Drew, you don't understand the point of concept phones are to just show what's possible. And I tried to reply that with a pinned comment the next day, but I guess probably everyone watched the video already. They weren't going to go back for more comments. But my primary reasoning is that if they put all of their work and all of their R&D into a couple of prototypes, that's completely throwing out the premise of mass production, which means that I don't really think that that's possible. What's possible to be made in a lab with one phone is very different than what's possible to be made for the masses. That's, I'd say, two very different things. I kind of have the same complaint with companies like Faraday Future, because a lot of people were like, well, Drew, there's concept cars. Are you against concept cars? I'm not really for concept cars, to be honest, either. They're cool to look at and stuff. But my argument with the phones is that you design a phone very differently when you have to mass produce it for a large audience. If you're not mass producing it for a large audience, you take a lot of liberties, and you don't worry about certain production issues, because you're only making one. You're only making a phone for marketing purposes, and I'm against that. That's what I was trying to argue, is that I'm against companies making phones that are purely for marketing purposes, not phones that are ever meant to hit the market. Because for one, it gets people excited for something that's not actually going to happen. For two, usually the end result, the phone that ends up hitting the market, is usually way worse than the concept you end up showing us. For three, you're giving ideas to people who can put your product into mass production. So I don't even think it's a good thing for companies, because they may get attention, they may get brand recognition, but if you have nothing to sell, how much is that helping them? It's not really helping you if you get everyone's attention, but in the end result, you have nothing to sell them. Like, Vivo made the Apex smartphone. I'm not going to buy a Vivo phone now just because that concept looked cool. Anyway, we got super chats. William super chatted 99 cents. Thank you very much. No comment, but I'd still appreciate it. Apple fan says, hi, should I buy an iMac if I already have a MacBook Pro? And can you make me moderator? I am donating $20. Thanks. Okay. Someone kept changing theirs on Patreon. I apologize, but I'll have to go back and check all of those. We got Ben Close doing moderator right now. I'll go back on Patreon after the live stream and make sure people who are donating the proper amount get mod. But I believe someone's was being changed quite often. That's usually why it's not there anymore. Anyway, getting an iMac if you already have a MacBook Pro. I mean, if your MacBook Pro is not cutting it in terms of specs, there are definitely some benefits to having an iMac, because you don't have to worry about things like battery life. I noticed that I use my computer a lot differently when I'm not worried about the battery life, and that's kind of a great thing about an iMac, is that you're just like, it runs the same clock speed no matter what. You're not worried about battery or brightness or things like that, or when you have to charge. But of course, it's not mobile, so you're of course limited by that. So if you think you need that extra processing power, I'd say go for it. But yeah, that's all really I can say an iMac is good for, is if you need something that is more reliably consistent with its speed, and you're not worried about battery life or display brightness. That's what it's good for. Tammy super chatted and said, "Hi, you did amazing on the debate with Front Page Tech. Thank you. I guess I don't think we've live streamed since." But yeah, it was fun. Sells affiliate products without telling the viewer it's an affiliate program. Is it ethical if a channel sells? I don't. I'm kind of weird on that topic, Alias. That's an interesting question. Um, I personally, while I know it's the law, and usually during sponsorships and stuff like that, you're usually during sponsorships like that, you're required to disclose that it's an ad, or else people get upset. I I got into a lot of heated debates with people in college about this. I was like, why does it matter if you tell someone if it's an ad or not? I feel like it's a given if something's an advertisement. If you're stopping the video to tell people about one, your sponsor, or two, just you're not saying it's a sponsor, you're just promoting a certain product or brand. Either you are not sponsored by them and you legitimately want your fans to check out that brand or business, or two, they're paying you to say that, but regardless, the fan or the viewer watching can decide whether or not they want to go forward with it. I don't understand. It's not brainwashing, in my opinion. You're not forcing them to buy anything. You're just like, for instance, I don't know. I don't have anything on my desk, but if I picked up like a coffee can from a coffee mug from Starbucks or whatever and said, "This Starbucks coffee is delicious. Great way to start the day," and I didn't disclose that I was sponsored by Starbucks, I don't see what was not ethical about that. It was like either Starbucks was paying me to say these good things, and you guys just got my opinion, or you got advertised to. Why does it? I think you guys would know. You guys get the idea. Like everyone's biased, though. You're getting advertised to regardless. Do you think before every idea it's Sam Jones? Now I want Starbucks. See, I'm not even sponsored by Starbucks, but that's already working. I should have used a different example. Um, but yeah, I don't see the lack of ethics in recommending products. I guess that's my controversial opinion on what's ethical with disclosing sponsorship and ads thing. I don't see how promoting any kind of brand or ad can be unethical. It's just recommending something you should try. You get to decide whether you want to try it for yourself. You have the choice of disliking the video and leaving and saying I don't care about your sponsorships, or you can be like, now I kind of want a coffee. Luke Super Chat, it says, what do you think will be this year's iPad Pro's special feature like the Pro Motion display last year? I think the big flagship change, we're expected to see a pretty big one, is the shift to the iPhone 10 style display. One size bezel all the way around, no home button, all gesture control. That's what I'm anticipating. I really hope the big change is that this year's iPads make the switch to the glass back so we can support wireless charging on a more massive scale, which is what I'd like to see us get into. There's not been very much proof of that, but we do know that it's pretty for sure happening. The same size bezel all the way around and gesture controls. We're pretty sure about that. The tech couple super chatted said, lots of respect for what you're doing, good sir. We are fairly newer YouTubers, husband and wife, and we love that you're unapologetically Apple. So are we. That's great. I'm happy for you. I checked out your guys' channel one day. Yeah, you guys got a neat channel coming up there. I saw your HomePod unboxing. So thank you for your support. I appreciate it. Let's see. Will Apple make a Surface Pro-like computer? Will they make iPad more MacBook-like or MacBook more iPad-like? I think Apple likes the strengths they have on their own and knows that combining them would not result in a better product. That's why I don't think we've seen Apple make a Surface Pro competitor. I was just talking about this with my friend Xander last night. I owned a Surface Pro 4. A lot of you were probably not subscribed to back then, but I owned a Surface Pro 4 for about a month. I used it, and it could do laptop things. It could do tablet things, but it was just kind of bad at both. And I could tell it was a very not Apple product because everything between video editing and between tablet support and touchscreen support and optimization and updates, everything about that Surface Pro 4 felt like the exact opposite of what Apple would do. Apple's, I think, always asking, should we do this, or how can we make a premium product that is good at productivity? Whereas Microsoft, when designing the Surface Pro, felt like they were constantly asking, can we do this? Let's put as much as possible in this thing, not focusing on whether or not it's a good idea, just can it do it? I don't think the Surface Pro 4 really can be used as a tablet only. Everyone I know who got the Surface Pro 4 had to pair it with a keyboard and trackpad or mouse because using it with just the touchscreen was a joke. It was just not usable. It was ridiculous. I tried that for a while, and eventually I had to get a wireless keyboard and mouse. So I had no choice. Everything Apple Pro biased on Apple products and tend to gear material more towards Apple promotions. It's Phone Rebel these days. The list goes on. Thinking anyone is unbiased is ignorant. Yeah, that's it. That's an interesting point. Imperial Tech Gods, nice name. I tried to explain that at the beginning of the Front Page Tech collaboration video, which if you guys care to go watch that, I recommend you to, because I really did legitimately enjoy having a back and forth with someone face to face, opposed to me just talking to a webcam and reading messages. I tried to explain that me being unbiased is not coming from a point of view that I hate you or I don't care about your opinion or things like that. It's coming from a point of view of I expect you to formulate your own opinion, because I feel like maybe this isn't what they're going for, but a lot of the time I feel like unbiased tech reviewers are going for the idea that you should mimic their thoughts because I'm being unbiased, I'm being friendly. You have to be unbiased now, and you have to be respectful towards all phones that come out no matter what. And I'm kind of like, no, if you're coming to Tailosive Tech, you're coming for my opinions. If you wanted tech specs and you wanted a list of everything the phone can do, you can find that in some headline. You can find that in an article. You can find that when the company releases the phone with their keynote. So a lot of multi-million subscriber tech channels are out there going, here's what the phone can do. Here's its processor. Here's its aperture. And they basically just tell you exactly what it's capable of. I figure you're already watching those channels. You're already watching the news. If you come for me, you're coming for my opinion, my point of view on the matter. So if that's the case, then I'm not going to just repeat what everyone else has been saying. I'm going to give you my point of view. That's why, being biased is, in my opinion, more respectful, because it shows that you're not afraid to show your opinion, and that means I'm not afraid to hear yours. I'm not going to agree with yours necessarily. I'm saying you and I can have differentiating opinions. Let's see. Why there too much hate on SE I'm using now for a year and love it? I don't have any hate on the SE. It's kind of an old design, but it's a really good design. Drew, you game on your iMac? Not a lot, but yeah. It can run, we still have Windows 10 on it. It can run a lot of PC games really, really high res too. Thoughts on Google Clips? Did that finally come out? They unveiled that so long ago. I don't know. I think me and Nathan talked about that for a while. Google Clips is like, can you be more obvious about you wanting to spy on people? I don't understand the premise of that product. It's literally like, set this camera up and using AI, it will take pictures. But when you're at a birthday party or you're at some kind of celebration, the pictures you want to take are like people smiling, people looking at the camera, close-ups, videos. What Google Clips basically looks like is Amazon like cloud cam footage. It's like we're going to record every time there's motion detected. I don't see how anyone would want that personally. I don't see how that's a useful product. Smartphone photography is not very hard. I think that's why it's so popular. Is we all have our of the pictures I've seen of Google Clips, it doesn't look that great. either. Nicholas super chatted and he said, recently got AirPods and love them. Love kids. Thank you, Nicholas. I appreciate that. Thank you. I have tried to build a Hackintosh. Yes. I've made that attempt. And during that process of building the Hackintosh, I've decided it wasn't worth it. I got Mac OS running on the PC, but it was filled with driver issues, and I was getting all the right drivers, all the drivers I was told to download and install. I was following that in progress. It was like a week-long process of trying to get Hackintosh Mac OS to work correctly on my PC. The It wouldn't connect to the internet. The graphical interface wasn't working, so when Windows would move around, it was all glitchy, and they couldn't output audio. And I kept searching for the right drivers and the right drivers, and I'm sure I could probably do it again and maybe figure it out if I tinkered with it enough times. But I realized during that whole process, the whole beauty of Mac OS and the whole point of having a Mac is that you don't have to tinker and you don't have to work on all those tiny nitpick kind of things. So I was like, well, this is destroying the purpose. This is just forcing an operating system that's not supposed to be on here to be on here, and it results in this unfluid experience between, I want AirDrop to work, and that doesn't work when you do a Hackintosh. Yeah, it defeats exactly has like text. It defeats the purpose of a Mac. So I don't. That's why I'm not really for it, and that's from experience. Really, it's not that I haven't tried it. It's just I tried it and didn't enjoy it, and I was like, the point of the Mac is that it's simple. So when you complicate that, what's the point? Okay, I had AirPods for nearly a year and just got them replaced 10 days before my warranty would have expired, and I'm so happy they work so much better now. That's good. You can get them replaced free if you have, if you have complaints about them. I like that. I like that they did that. What's your favorite iPhone reveal where Johnny Ive talks in the background? Well, usually like every year they make a cooler one. I really like the 10 unveiling, but that's just because I like the 10. It's my favorite iPhone design. But yeah, I'm glad that they keep his voice around. Okay. We're both fans of wireless charging. My son asked me what we will do with all the power banks we have when Apple goes wireless only. What do you think? Same thing you'll do with all those lightning cables, and the same thing you did with all those 30-pin connectors. They'll be around and they won't have much of a purpose. I mean, there's still old tech or older tech that still might need battery banks. Like, for instance, if the next generation iPad doesn't have wireless charging on the back. But yeah, when you go portless, there will be a lot of leftover battery banks and cables that are not useful anymore. But that's okay. I won't miss them. I'll be gladly buying more. I'll gladly be buying more Qi supported battery banks. I don't think the S9 is the perfect phone for several reasons. For one, it's running Android, and for two, it has a Bixby button. But it's a very good phone. It's the best Android phone you can buy. Okay. Do I prefer the Home Mini or Echo Dot more? I don't know. What you prefer? You got to ask yourself that question. Okay. Plug wireless charger into power bank. Yeah, that's true. You could plug a Qi charger into it via USB. Yeah, you can do that. What's your opinion on long distance wireless charging? I think the technology here's a good idea of why concept phones are stupid. The technology to send power over the air, that is not unheard of. That's been done, and that's not actually a new technology. The idea of beaming microwaves across the air to a device and having it charge it, that's been done. That's not that hard. The question is how to make that safe. That's what all tech companies are investigating and researching right now. Is in the reason you're not getting that in your iPhones and Android phones is because consumer tech companies have not figured out an efficient way of making that safe so that they can send charge power across the air. That has yet to be found. That's why you haven't seen it yet. The technology of just sending it across the air is easy. It's just not very possible to do it safely, and that's why they're not selling it. So, of course, when that is possible to be done safely, I'm sure we'll see that implemented into tech. But yeah, at this point, it's not been made yet. So, okay. Why do they call phones that look like the iPhone killers when we don't care about the look when we buy. Well, some people care about the look, but yeah, it's kind of like companies that are like Tesla killer. This is the next Tesla killer. Can I buy it? No. Okay, then it's not a Tesla killer because yeah, like Faraday Future, I had lots of issues with. It was just I'm not that when you design a car, but you don't consider production costs or manufacturing issues, then that's a big component of what you're capable of designing. Because designing a prototype, designing a product are two very different things. But yeah, when it comes to iPhone killers, I think they're forgetting what the main reason people buy iPhones for. That's iOS, not the notch or not the bezels. That's not why people buy iPhones. How many Air Powers are you going to buy? I think two. I think I'm going to get one for the office and one for home. I'm really excited for that. There's several instances in which I wish I could have had one. The other thing I'm looking forward to with Air Power is something you'd be a little bit surprised by, but I hate Qi chargers that have to have these really bright glowing lights on them. Like every Qi charger I get has to glow in the dark, and it's kind of annoying. And I don't think Air Power has any lights on it, so I'm looking forward to that. Um, will you get the S9? I believe a fan is sending me theirs, and then I have to send it back to them after a couple weeks. So I think I'm gonna do an unboxing and a review after a little while, but I can't keep it for too super long because it's not mine. I like that the live stream is brighter. Okay, good. Yeah, I opened up all the windows in here so you get some more light and see the junky desks behind me. What's your favorite cheap budget phone company? I'd say OnePlus. They make pretty quality stuff for the prices. Um, I liked my first Android phone ever was the Blue Vivo 5, and that was a very cheap phone, and it worked pretty well. I wasn't unhappy with it. How will supercar companies change to electric? I mean, the Tesla didn't ever have a gas company, and they just started to electric. So I imagine previous car brands have a lot of money. They can switch over. How big is your office space? Even my landlord, because this place was abandoned and unused for so long, he didn't even know the square footage, but it's rumored to be around 2,000. It might be closer to 1,500, but it's quite a lot of square footage. Um, I'm an iPhone. I'm an iPhone killed. Dropped 6 iPhones in my life and 4 stopped working. Oh no, that sucks. Why do you not like under the screen fingerprint? When that was what you wanted the most before, or is it just that Android did it first and won't like it until it comes to iPhone? I won't like it if it comes to iPhone. The reason I'm glad Apple didn't go that route is because I can't use fingerprint sensors anyway. I'm biased in that way. My fingerprints are always changing because of my psoriasis, so it doesn't make a difference to me. But the reason I was excited for that was because that had not been done before, and I was excited to see Apple developing that technology. And now that it's here, I'd be curious to see it on a phone. Again, not that it matters because I couldn't use it, but I'd be curious to see it on a good phone. It's been put onto phones that are junk and they have to be compromised in every other way. But the Vivo X20 Plus, I think that's the first and only phone you can buy that actually um, has Clear ID on it. Um, it's a $700 phone, but they had to compromise on basically everything in order to make Clear ID possible on that. And I was like, you see, that's the example of why Apple didn't do this, was because for one, it makes the phone too expensive. And that's why they had to compromise on everything. They basically had to make it a super duper budget phone that also had Touch ID underneath the display and then charge full price. And two, you can't make a ton of them. And I don't know anyone who really wants that phone. They were just interested in Clear ID, but I don't think overall it would be a good purchase. Apple Juice Super Chat. It says thoughts, new HomePod commercial, the lady dancing. Yeah, I made a tweet about that because I was like, I was I made a tweet that said, Apple, next time you make an ad, you should consult me first, just after the grown up ad and stuff. But a lot of people were defending it, and they were like, I like the HomePod ad. I mean, I'm not saying it's interesting. It is interesting, the room separating and the lady dancing around. She's a very talented dancer. I'm not saying she's not a good dancer. I'm just saying What did that ad have to do with the HomePod? I don't. That you have to end that whole ad with a disclaimer saying that your HomePod does not cause your house to be separated and cause mirrors and allow you to step into a different dimension with someone who looks like you. Like that's not what happens with a HomePod. It's just because I like different types of advertisements, and I think that Apple has really, really good features and reasons for people buying their products, and I think they have logistical reasons, not just artistical reasons. And basically, all that ad said was that the HomePod can play music. I guess you could look deeper and deeper into it and say that, well, it plays the music really, really well. And it was like, no one's gonna watch that ad and be like, okay, now I'm getting a HomePod. That was purely just to like, look what we can do with animation and this director. And I was like, I don't think it made anyone want to buy a HomePod. It's just classic Apple just saying, let's make an artistic commercial that happens to have a HomePod in it, which in my opinion is, it's fine, but it's not going to convince anyone to buy a HomePod. And I believe that is the purpose of advertising to, they're the richest company in the world. I have no right to tell them how to do their job, but either way, that's, I'm an Apple sheep and I find it cringy when they do stuff like that. Anyway, Lucas super chatted. Thank you very much. He says, I really like your videos, especially your sarcasm about other companies. Please keep up the great job you do. Please use this money to get yourself something nice, like a good lunch today. You deserve it. Thank you. That's very nice. I'll try to get myself a good lunch. Make sure I didn't miss it. Oh, there's a couple more super chats. Novadal super chatted and says, love your channel. Thank you very much. And then the next one, Greenlight Tech says, made a 5K 3D Tailosive BG for your iMac. Want it? Okay, I apologize. I don't know what the BG is. 5K 3D Tailosive BG. But yes, if if you're offering something, you can either email me, which is in my about section. Oh, background. Cool. Yeah, email me that. Sorry. See, there's too many acronyms these days I got to keep track of. What space gray color is the iMac Pro? I mean, it's the same one like the Apple Watch is. I do notice it being slightly darker than my MacBook Pro, which was space gray. There's too many acronyms to keep up with. What's your email? It's in the about section of my YouTube channel. How long have you been doing these YouTube videos? I uploaded my first YouTube video in 2008, so I guess we're at 10 years. You're taking personal questions. Do you like to travel? I enjoy traveling. I just feel like I don't have time for it, so I haven't gone very far recently, but I'm hoping to someday. Drew, please look up WeCharge. It's over the air, safe wireless charging. It was demoed and won an award at CES this year. I saw it. Excuse me. I saw it at CES, and the technology exists. It's amazing. Yes, I am subscribed to them. I actually subscribed to WeCharge way long time ago. I found their website back when I was in the Oroville office, and then subscribed and asked for any updates. And I emailed them specifically, and I said, I'm a YouTuber, and if you're interested in me demoing your technology for people online, I would love to. They haven't gotten back to me about it, but yeah, I know who they are. It's cool that they made that work, and I'm excited to see that type of company. I hope that type of company personally gets like bought out by Apple or something, and then they implement it into their phones. Yeah. Do you think there will be an iPad Mini 5? I hope there will be, but I don't think there will be. I feel like the minis are kind of been abandoned. Can you make a vlog about time capsule? Love it, but it looks like Apple doesn't care about it anymore. It need a little update. You notice how Apple is very focused on just a handful of products. Usually companies at their size have literally hundreds of products they have to keep track of, whereas Apple keeps it all between like a couple 10. It's interesting. But yeah, there's plenty of Apple products that need updating, but I guess their size is just keeps them from focusing on too many different things. Your concept phone video was so bad it made me want to make a response video just to criticize the life out of you. You should, Tim. I encourage response videos. I like those types of videos. I stand by it though. I've read a lot of the comments on it, and none of them have changed my mind. Um, my point is making concepts and making phones that everyday people cannot buy defeats the whole purpose of consumer tech. That's what I love about this tech field so much, is that we're talking about potentially what is going to come out so that we can try for ourselves. And what I've noticed is when companies make concepts and when they make hypotheticals, usually the real thing is not better. It's usually 10 times worse than the actual concept. Case in point, Vivo Apex looks really, really fancy and really cool, but you can't buy that. What you can buy is the Vivo X20 Plus, which has tiny portion of the screen that's a fingerprint reader, micro USB, terrible display, bigger bezels, terrible camera. All of those things sell. You have nothing to offer. So when a company gets attention and they get marketing, but they have nothing to sell, what's the benefit? If anything, what it does is it encourages other companies to take that idea and then bring it to the mass market, in which case Vivo loses on that capitalization. They're like, hey, we came up with this idea, but another company was able to mass produce it and now they lost. And first of all, it gets consumers' excitement up because they're like, ooh, this is what may happen someday. And then what actually happens is way, way worse. So I don't see who this is good for. It hurts the brand because it gets their ideas out, and then they don't get to capitalize on it. For two, it gets consumers excited for things that they can't buy. Um, and for three, it's not really possible because you're designing a phone that's not considering mass production. And if you can't mass produce a phone, you're going to design it very differently. So that's my issues with it. But I'd love to see response videos. I'm very curious. If Macs come out running an Apple chip that will remove Boot Camp, or will they give Windows and Linux the ability to run their OSs? That I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend I know enough about it. I'm sorry. Um, let's see. Super Chat is on iOS now, yes. If you want an office tour, I go around the office quite often on Tailosive Talks, so please check that out. Also, while we have, what is it, around 200 people watching, we're actually very close. I don't know if you know this. We're very close on Instagram to hitting 10,000 followers. I think we're at 938. If you didn't know this, I don't really plug my Instagram very much because I don't like wasting time. But less than 100 followers away from getting to 10,000 followers on Instagram, which is kind of cool. So I figured while you guys are here, you could check that out. Okay. Following you on Instagram right now. Thank you. What do you think of the iPhone upgrade program? I'm more of a fan of buying phones outright because I don't like paying for something monthly. I just kind of like buying it like that. But I know that inevitably there will come a time where that's the only thing you can do. They'll probably. I've already heard that Verizon might be discontinuing the unlocked modes, and basically every phone by Verizon will be locked in a contract. I'm not looking forward to that, but I'm just admitting that that's the future. So I'm probably going to have to adapt to that anyway. Yeah, I don't. I try not to plug myself a lot. I was going to talk to you guys about this. I guess we have a pretty good amount of people in here, but something a lot of people talk to me about after specifically John and Roberto, after we did the debate on Front Page Tech, we talked for about an hour after we were live, and they really wanted to set me up with in video sponsorships. Where I, tell you to go check out Audible, or before we get into today's video, I want to talk about Dollar Shave Club. And I wanted to let you guys know that I'm not really a fan of that. And I know that a lot of you would probably understand and be like, well, Drew, you got to pay the bills. I understand. But my point of view on it right now is I still am trying my best to make content that's interesting to me and that I want to watch. I want to, yeah, I said that correctly, that I want to. And I've actually lost interest in a lot of YouTube channels because of how they've fell into in-video sponsors. Just like 50% of the video becomes ad reads, and I'm not a fan of that. I'm not saying I'll never do that. I'm saying that if things get desperate or if money gets tight or ad revenue falls um, significantly lower, then I might do that just as a means of like, guys, I want you to enjoy the content that I'm making, but in order to do that, I have to get through these ad reads, and hopefully you'll understand. But the thing is, via ad revenue and via your guys' super chat donations and via Patreon, not only are you keeping my job alive, but um, you're also keeping Tailosive fairly ad free, which means that there's the ads that play before the YouTube video plays. But I'd like to keep it to that. I'm not really a big fan of in-video ads because you can't get rid of those, and to me, they get very, very boring very quickly because I've watched a lot of channels where they keep talking about Audible. I've seen 80,000 Audible ad reads. I've seen $80,000 Shave Club ad reads, and I think you guys all know about them anyway. I don't waste your time. I'm not trying to burn. I'm not trying to burn watch time and have you sit through, because then it becomes cable TV. Because then there's people who there's a lot of people out there who can't even get YouTube Red, which means that they have to watch an ad before the video, and then when the video plays, you have to sit through an ad read. I'm trying to avoid that. Again, not saying it'll never happen because things might get desperate, but as of right now, via your guys' generosity and ad revenue, we're doing okay. Yeah, we could always do better. We're trying to afford enough to hire Nathan, but I'm going to try my best to do all of that without the in-video advertisements, just because I'm not a fan of that very much. So I'm going to try to avoid that if at all possible, just because I prefer getting to the point, and I think that videos are better when we don't have these awkward minute-long ad reads that don't feel honest. It doesn't really feel honest where I'm like, so we're going to talk about the iPhone 10 Plus, but first, let's talk about Audible, and cut into that every video. I don't know. That's just not something I'd like to do anyway. And I want you guys to be aware of that when you super chat, when you donate on Patreon, that's what you're helping keep Tailosive ad free as well. Anyway, Up Arrow Incorporated super chat. It said, MacBook Pro, do you think they will give a 32 gigabyte version with LPDDR4 at WWDC? I would get an iMac Pro, but feel too constrained. Same place over and over. Parallels having trouble. Love your channel. I don't personally know people who think that 16 gigs is not enough. And if so, you probably shouldn't be doing that on a MacBook anyway. You can get 32 gigs of RAM, on a regular iMac, I believe. In fact, on 5K iMacs, I think you can upgrade them yourself pretty simply. So yeah, I don't think the only option to get 32 gigs of RAM is the iMac Pro. There's other options you can get for that. And I'm curious as to why people say 16 is not enough. What are you doing? Because I also think people don't understand what RAM is half the time, thinking that RAM makes your computer faster, where it's not. It's more about how many things you can do at the same time. But yeah, your options are not limited to MacBook Pro and iMac Pro. Those aren't the only things that can do 32 gigs of RAM. I got 32 gigs of RAM on my iMac Pro, but that's because that's the bottom option. Virtual machines for testing e-commerce software. Okay, so for features like that, there's still 5K iMacs that you can get 32 gigs of RAM in that won't be $5,000. But yeah, I understand why you wouldn't want to go iMac Pro route. That's very expensive. Okay. For people I saw earlier asking about the main channel and Saturday shorts, yeah, more tricks on the main channel with sketches and movies. You can make another series like Completely Relevant. That was really cool. We're trying to do that. We're trying to do that with hiring Nathan. And actually, last weekend, we were able to shoot a couple of Saturday shorts, one of which I had no part in. They shot in with my friends. They made it themselves. The second one, I wrote the script for and I star in. But yes, you should be getting Saturday shorts back on the main channel in just about a week. This Saturday, there should be one. We'll see. unless something goes horribly wrong. But if things go according to plan and we stay on schedule, you should get a comedy sketch on the Saturday short. So I'm excited. Yeah, it should be cool. I got an unpopular opinion, focus more on the tech channel than the rest of the channels. Well, guess what, Jake? I do. The tech channel gets priority over every channel. In fact, that's the entire workflow of the network right now, is the channels that bring in the most money have to have the most attention. So in other words, we did not film a Saturday short until the tech video of that day was done. We filmed 2 Saturday shorts on one Saturday, and we had to make sure the tech video was finished before. On top of that, we made sure that the Talks channel gets a vlog or a podcast before it gets anything else, because that's also a revenue channel. And the main channel, we understand that the vast majority of Tailosive fans are subscribed to tech, and that's what matters most. If there's not a tech video like yesterday, it's because either I couldn't do it or I was out of ideas. I would never have an idea for a tech video, but work on a Saturday short first, because that's a completely non-profit part of the network right now that it makes no money. So yeah, the tech channel gets the most attention. Don't think that because we're doing all these other channels, we're not focusing on tech. That's not what's going on at all. Tech is very much the highest priority. My friends had a go at me purchasing a 60-pound Apple Swell bottle. How do I defend myself? I don't know. That's you, man. I don't think I would buy that. That's a lot. What do you think will be the changes in the normal sized iPhone 10 coming this year? I think they're going to most likely try to focus on making it cheaper, because that's the second largest reason people didn't upgrade to the iPhone 10. I was looking at the chart on Mac Rumors this morning about what is it here? Survey explores why iPhone owners haven't upgraded to the 10. The largest one is not the price point, though, and this is the growing issue that Apple really cannot fix with upgrading iPhones. Is they said 44% of people said you haven't upgraded because my iPhone works fine. This is a growing issue for all tech companies, is that as smartphones become better and faster and brighter and cameras are better, there's less and less incentive to upgrade, because iPhone 7, not a bad phone. Or a year from now, iPhone 10 will still probably be a pretty good phone, and people having to drop another $1,000 likely will be like, I'm fine with my 10 anyway. But the second largest reason at 31%, so just under a third of people said they haven't upgraded because it was too expensive. So Apple's likely going to be focusing on making the next one cheaper, of course, while getting the faster CPU, better Face ID, maybe thinner camera bump. I say that every year, but who knows? Hopefully better battery life and things like that. Maybe better waterproofing. I don't know. Not too many drastic changes, but can you game on the iMac Pro? Have you ever used it for gaming? All the time on Tailosive Gaming. You'd see that on there. Do you think that AI is the future? Only if I saw some real world use of it. I've seen AI in labs develop like really good ways of playing Dota or playing board games, but until AI, I always say this as kind of a joke on the Talks channel, but until AI can predict memes before they happen, I will not be scared. Until then, I'm not. If a machine is really, really good at learning how to play Dota, I'm not very scared of AI. But if AI is able predictable, what will be the next big meme? No one knows. So until a computer can guess that, I will not be scared. I don't think AI will take over the world. I think that AI always will require some type of human attention. It will require some resource that humans have to offer it, that we can always cut it off when we need to. I don't think that the movies are correct about AI. I think it'll be mostly helpful to humanity, not detrimental. Rapaldi super chat. It says, what can Apple cut to make MacBook Air cheaper? Yeah, I have no idea. That's a good question. I feel like the MacBook Air is long overdue for a price reduction, or at least a discontinuation. I don't know. If AI could edit your videos, then That way, would you like them? Would you let it edit them? If it could do them as good as Nathan or as good as I can, then yeah, I would love that actually. Um, what is the next MacBook Pro? I don't know. Just probably they'll give some spec bumps to the MacBook Pros this year. Maybe you'll get your 32 gigabytes of RAM option this year. Who knows? Maybe that's the one thing they can add. And the eighth gen Intel cores. We'll see. Okay. Should I buy iPad Pro now? I wouldn't buy iPad Pro now because you just have to wait till summer, which is not till June actually, which is 3 months away. Wait 3 months and you'll get new iPad refresh. So yeah, just give it a little bit of time. Do you find Siri stupid? Everyone says it's the worst assistant, but I just don't see it. I agree with you, Michael. I think that two things. I think all digital assistants are a lot closer in intelligence than we give them credit for. I don't think the Google Assistant is as smart as people say she is, and I don't think Siri is as dumb as people say she is. I still think Google Assistant is the smartest because it has that Google search integration, and they've just really refined that assistant. But I also don't think Siri is like so bad she's unusable. Kind of like what Front Page Tech said that like I can't use Siri. Siri's a joke. Siri's the worst part of the HomePod. That's why I can't buy it. I haven't experienced something Siri can't do that I needed Siri to do. Um, I don't understand the example. I haven't got a ton of examples other than just like, oh, she sucks. For me, I say Siri play a song and she can play a song or play a podcast and she does that. I can tell Siri to text people, which is something I can't do with Google. I tell her to change the lights in HomeKit and she changed the lights in HomeKit. The only thing I've run into people saying that she can't do is like search the web for random questions like how tall is Barack Obama or how much fat is in an avocado. And I don't care about that kind of thing. That's just not something I do very much. And that's not how I'm going to dictate which smart speaker I buy. I'm going to buy the one that sounds the best. Apple Juice Super Chat. It says, are you still using your iPad a lot these days? I am actually. One thing I've really enjoyed is playing Alto's Odyssey, which I also did a game review of Alto's Odyssey over on Tailosive Gaming. So check that out if you haven't yet. While running Seinfeld in Hulu in picture. I love that option. Plus, the game runs, I believe, at 120 hertz at the ProMotion display on the iPad, which is really nice. I still use my iPad for my video thumbnails as well. I do them on there. And whenever I want to do two things at once, that's the best place to do it because I can do, I do the Discord server on one window and iMessage on the other, or Twitter and iMessage on the other. So I'm texting someone while browsing. It optimizes that really, really well. Do you like the new iPad concept designs? I like our iPad concept designs that we did for the iPad 10 video. That's what I want to happen. Thanks to Dale Boomstick for making those happen. I use Over to make thumbnails. What do you think about the Surface line from Microsoft? I'm not a huge fan, having used a lot of the Surface line. I don't even though it's designed by Microsoft, both software and hardware, I'm not a fan of just how the products work. But let's say this, if I were forced at gunpoint to switch away from the Apple ecosystem and I had to make an ecosystem that was not Apple's, my iMac Pro replacement would be the Surface Studio. That seems like a really cool desktop, a really cool all-in-one, and that'd be really cool to try that out. It's very expensive, so I can't really, but I'd be curious to try a Surface Studio for myself. But I'm not a fan of the Surface Pro 4 or the Surface Book or the Surface Laptop. I've used all of them, and I think they're clunky. I don't think they're optimized well for anything. They're weird laptops and bad tablets. So I'd rather have a laptop that's good at being a laptop and a tablet that's good at being a tablet. Would you keep your iPad or your MacBook Pro for getting the price tag? I mean, the reason I originally had a MacBook Pro and iPad is because one ran Mac OS and one ran iOS. But now I have an iMac Pro, so I guess I'd get rid of my MacBook because I already have a Mac OS device. But I'm fine with keeping both. But if I had a Microsoft ecosystem, not counting smartphones, of course, that would be more Samsung. But That would I don't think I would have a tablet and a laptop because with Microsoft they would both be running Windows 10. So what would be the point? If you bought a Surface Book, you should not buy a Surface Pro because you can just turn it into a tablet anyway. So you already have the keyboard and trackpad built into it. So why would you get both? Whereas having an iPad and MacBook, that makes more sense in my opinion. iPad does everything a MacBook Air can while being more portable and cheaper. That's not entirely true because MacBook Air is running Mac OS, and there's a lot of programs that do not run on iOS that run on Mac OS. But I kind of see your point. Um, Google Maps way better. I have weird personal experience with the Apple Maps Google Maps debate because everyone always is like Apple Maps is horrible. Apple Maps never works. I've used Apple Maps exclusively anywhere I drive, anytime I drive somewhere, both in LA, Spokane, Seattle, anywhere I've driven, Apple Maps has worked great, and I don't have any to use Apple Maps, so they use Google Maps, and it doesn't work ever. They get me. They can't find my house. They can't find my office. When they use Google Maps, or Google Maps will direct them to, like, if we're going to In-N-Out, they'll get directed to an In-N-Out 12 miles away. Um, I guess if Apple ignores smaller countries, if it doesn't work in the U.S., then yes, I have a bias towards that because I've lived in the U.S. my whole life, and quite a lot of other people do. I'd say that's a pretty big demographic. If Google, I'm not criticizing Apple for only prioritizing the US. I'm saying that Google Maps statistically with my friends has not worked out very well for anyone. I don't see that replicated. I don't see that replicated in the internet because online everyone just says, "Oh, Apple Maps is terrible. It doesn't work. Google Maps is fine." All my friends who use Google Maps always get lost every time. It kills me. Super Brianable Super Chat. It says, upgrading my Series 3 to stainless steel worth? Absolutely. For more than just the stainless steel reason, it's the sapphire glass. That stuff is durable. It does not scuff. And I've had real hard days on that Apple Watch glass, and it's pristine. To me, it's definitely worth it for that. You can tell it's what Apple really wanted you to have in the first place. Apple Maps wasn't great upon release, and the reputation hasn't changed despite vast improvement. Yeah, that's probably it. I'm sure Apple Maps was very buggy when it first came out, but for me, it's always worked fine. I have no problems with it. How will we be able to connect our iPhones to PC/Mac when Apple removes all ports? You don't. That's the point. You super chat. You don't need to connect it to your computer. You not super chat. Sorry, AirDrop. Getting my verbs confused. You can send files back and forth wirelessly. You charge wirelessly. Your music is synced across the cloud. It's easier that way. I've been using the iPhone since the iPhone 5 came out. Apple Juice says, Apple Maps screen turns off while navigating. Does it bother you? I hope Super Chat on iOS helps the channel significantly. That's not true. It does that on the lock screen. When you lock your phone, it'll turn on with the navigation if you're doing one. But if you leave yourself in the Maps app, it does not turn off while navigating. I don't have that problem. It's never done that. I believe, unless I have some weird version of Apple Maps that no one else is doing. Which MacBook do you prefer? I prefer the size of the 12-inch MacBook. I love how portable that is, but I don't I can't get by with the specs, so I got the 15-inch MacBook Pro. But now I have the iMac Pro, so I'll probably go back to a 12-inch this summer. Would a 10C flop like the 5C? Yeah, I think so. I have the 10. Well, do you have your screen to like auto lock? Gee, Mr. Torrance is saying Apple Maps is fine for me in Finland, so there's a smaller country and it's working fine. What about the 11-inch MacBook Air? Well, it's been discontinued, so 13-inch is also a good size. I wish I could get the specs of the 15-inch in the 12-inch design. I would take that any day. but you can't. So that's why I got the 15-inch. I'm all for like small, very, very portable notebooks. I'm maybe that's the reason. Yeah, I'm just saying I've never had that issue with Apple Maps personally. North Carolina here, no issues with Apple Maps. However, Google Maps got me lost on Thursday. There you go. See, it's not just me. It's not just me. It's I've had several people, lots of my Android friends who hadn't been to my house before, but I gave them my address, they got lost. And with my Apple Maps friends, it's never been a problem. So I'm just saying, like, my personal experience does not reflect the internet's opinion. Lucas Super Chat. It says, have revenue increased because of Super Chat on iOS? It's been okay. Yeah, it's been pretty good. It's also just been increasing overall because currently views and watch time have been a bit higher than average, which is good. Which is good. That's your guys's. I'm thankful. That's thanks to you. Jan Super Chat. It says, keep up the good work. Really enjoy your content. Jan Lotan, I appreciate it. Oh, next one from Michael Lozito says, nice to see you on Front Page Tech and Painfully Honest Tech. Hope to see more. Me too. It gets a little tough because it's like I've mentioned earlier, working on something that I don't really profit from. But yeah, it's fun to talk to people one-on-one. Shamir says, Google Maps always try to send me on roads that aren't even roads. That's why I stick with Apple Maps. Thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one experiencing this, but on the internet, the big meme or whatever it is, but the big trend is Google Maps is what you use. Google Maps is the best. Apple Maps is a joke. Apple Maps, like when the Tesla Roadster's in space, it's like I'd be using Apple Maps. That's the caption. And yet, in my personal experience, Google Maps is the one that gets everyone lost. This shouldn't even be a meme. I feel like all Maps programs should just work the same. I don't know why they work differently. Would you want a notch or just bigger bezels on the next MacBook? I don't want bigger bezels on anything, but if you put a notch on a MacBook, it would be covered up by the taskbar in the OS anyway. So I couldn't even share a location with Google Maps. Oh, there you go. Everything Apple Pro is not interested in collaborating. He's deleted comments that mentioned me specifically before, so I'm guessing that's a no. I've never talked to him directly, but I feel like he at least knows my name and has made his point clear that he's not interested. So cheapness isn't a feature, so why do YouTubers mention it like it is? I mean, it can be a feature. I don't agree entirely that cheapness is not a feature. I guess what cheapness, maybe not a feature is the right word, but it's a factor. Cheapness is a big factor because, like someone just asked, do you like the Google Home Mini? The thing is, I don't like the way it sounds. I don't really get the point of making a speaker that sounds like that, especially if you can't hook it up to another speaker anyway. The Google Assistant can control HomeKit stuff. That's all we've really found it useful for. The reason why I like my HomePod is it's a great speaker. So telling it to play music, I really enjoy because it sounds wonderful. I will never tell my Home Mini to play music because it sounds horrible. But of course, the fact that I got it for like $30. I think it's back to 50 now, or maybe it's 40. I don't know. It's always on sale. But the fact that it's so cheap means that I can't really tell you not to buy it because you can just buy it yourself. For me, the Home Minis have kind of turned into glorified light switches. So with the smart home appliances we got for the Home Mini, that we still have like light switches and no, that's about it. Like light switches when we need to turn something on. That's all it is. It's just like Google play. Google turn the light on. Boop. That's it. Or if I'm trying to sleep, I'll be like play white noise. So as long as it's played at a super low volume, the speaker sounds okay. And as long as it's playing static white noise like ocean sounds or just hissing or an air conditioner sound, then it works. But because it's so cheap, I can't really say it's not worth it because most consumers can just go buy it themselves. But no, they're not good products, but because they're cheap, I can't tell you to not get them. You can get it yourself and be like, okay, it's fine. It'll be exciting and it'll be kind of fun to have a smart digital assistant for about a month, and then after that, you won't use it for barely anything. Thoughts about Apple Maps, including speed limit with directions? I think they do that now, don't they? At least for me, they have. But It's nice, but statistically, so far, I've ran into instances in which the speed limit on Apple Maps is not the speed limit of the highway. Which, um, to be fair, I was on the beta. That was back before iOS 11 came out. That may have changed by now. I haven't checked. I don't use Apple Maps here in Chico or Orville just because I know where things are anyway. Um, but I would say you probably shouldn't go. Uh, you probably shouldn't go by the Apple Maps recommendation of the speed limit anyway. But to be fair, Apple was telling me to go slower than the actual speed limit. I ran into an instance in which Apple Maps, again, on the beta program, so this may have been fixed, I'm not sure, said that the speed limit was 55 when in fact it was 65. So it wasn't like Apple Maps was encouraging me to speed or anything. But um, Michael super chatted, said, "Who created your theme music? Your channel? Love your channel. Thank you. It's a royalty-free download. I found a long, long time ago. I don't remember what it's called, but it was just one of those. Just download this. It's royalty-free. Anyone can use it. Kind of music, just background audio. I bet if you went and searched royalty-free background music, you'd probably find it. But we've hit our hour mark here, and because I'd like to focus back on the tech channel, get some videos edited and uploaded, I'm going to end it up here. I appreciate all the super chats and questions we got today. Thank you for keeping it interesting. This is your Apple Sheep here, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.